Hey everyone, back at my desk and with an update because we're starting to see the markets move a little bit. I think we're gonna see a lot more volatility towards the end of the year because of elections, seasonality, and so on. And I want to be capturing most of the action in the last few months of the year because the summer has been very slow, and I think that's about to change. Bitcoin is starting to move, some alts are starting to move that I'm gonna share with you, and of course ordinals also. All ordinals are kind of showing signs of life, and we're gonna go through some charts and what my plans are. So let's jump first into Bitcoin. Obviously this is the monthly chart, and as you can see, again, we're about to close above 60k, and I've mentioned before that 60k is like kind of my mental barrier of bull and bear markets, and if we start getting significant closes below 60k, I would think that the bull market here, at least temporarily, is over. It hasn't really been on, although we've been consolidating around all-time highs, but it hasn't really felt like we've been in a bull market for the past half a year or so. And we'll see what will happen here. We're at a very crucial area in my opinion, and the first bullish signs are in place. We are about to close another month above 60k, and you can see even the wick here is very telling of the price action. And when we go down to the weekly, you see that we are at a key level here. I will share with you also the setup that I had, I think it was 2 weeks ago, but on weekly before that, you'll see that we're pretty much at this crucial level around 65k, and that is pretty much the first place where we would be looking for the structure of this entire downtrend to shift, because basically we made some equal lows here, or maybe slightly lower lows on this side, but here if we start closing above 65 on the weekly especially, I think the probability of a continuation at least to the higher range here around 72k is much higher, and this will signal the first shift into the trend changing conditions. It's not gonna be enough, because pretty much what we need, in my opinion, for a real trend shift is first we need a leg above here, above 65, for a higher high for a first time in a while, and then obviously potentially the market will have a correction, and this needs to hold a higher low here. And then if we see a continuation back to the upside, then I would say this is pretty much shifting into more bullish market territory. However, this is just one of the scenarios, and ideally I would want to see maybe something like this. We get a correction, at least a small one, maybe a shallow one up to here, and then we go for an extension to the upside. This I think will be also bullish if we form the higher low first before the higher high here. However, there's a world in which we just blast off from here. Bitcoin has been known to do this, especially after large periods of accumulation. It just smashes everything. Let me just show you what I mean. Pretty much even here, we had this chop zone for quite a while. This was from March till October. Oh, look at this. So pretty much exactly the same timeline. And once we broke above this, there was no coming back. You can see it's just weeks and weeks of green that started a massive trend. Obviously this has to do also with some ETF news and so on, but if you go back in history, you see this pattern repeating. Like even here, once we broke this level, or even like the all-time highs, there were pretty much no pullbacks. So maybe we could also see this, and maybe we're somewhere here where we're catching kind of the early breakout if we start closing above the 65 level that I've been mentioning. I had a trade, and it was a very simple one on the daily. So let's just delete this. I'll share with you what my plans are going forward, but let's just go over the trade. So we were starting on the daily to shift structure. So let me just clean up. So it was, we had kind of a double bottom here around 54k, very good sign. Then we started breaking into a bit more bullish structure above here. And once we had a retrace and a potential retest of 60, which, as I've mentioned, my line in the sand somewhere around here. Once we had this, I was like, okay, if we are to turn bullish, this will be probably, when it comes to risk to reward, one of the best times to enter. And that was my execution. I entered somewhere around 60. I spent some time underwater. It's probably somewhere around here. But I was, patient, because pretty much even if we jump down on the lower time frames, this was kind of my setup here. And we kind of went below 60, but we never got like big closes below it. In like the right next day, we jumped back above, and we had the rate cut announcement the following day, and the market reacted positively to it, and we just hit my take profit. I took profit on the entire position, and I'm back to like 50% cash, just simply because, very clean here. We have this resistance area, and we've had quite a big push here. So what I'm expecting to happen is for price either to drop here, consolidate in this area, which will be the more bullish scenario, and maybe then we shove it up or down, obviously, or to have a correction, which will be, for me personally, the ideal case. So maybe we get down to like 60 again, and then we start climbing back. Maybe something like this will play out. And for me, this will be the optimal case, because we've had some bullish price action. Alts have been starting to heat up. Everybody's starting to get on the bull bandwagon, and they're like, oh, we're missing this. I need to enter. And this will only accelerate if we get above here, and people can really just go crazy. Especially, people like me that are heavy in cash right now, because there are plenty of people on the market like this. So we could see this kind of also playing on the, more aggressive side, on the bullish side, but I would ideally want us to have some kind of a correction or a bit more consolidation here. Even if we jump down to the 4 hour, you see that we are kind of having like higher highs, higher lows here through this kind of consolidation, and we're testing just a little bit higher every time, but no significant closes above this level. Like even if you go back here, it's just closes below this level. And if we start breaking the structure, maybe even on the hourly, if you jump, if we start breaking below 63k, I would say, maybe then we'll see this leg down, or we just can chop around here. And honestly, even if we chop around, I wouldn't mind a breakout, because I took profit around 63-ish k, and let's say I get back at it somewhere on a breakout here, my risk to rewards is like not terrible. It's like I'm risking 4% to potentially make like 10% to the next level up around 70k. And if you're just straight buying Bitcoin, and trading Bitcoin, I think that's a decent setup. So it pays to be a little bit more patient here, because maybe we'll get a pullback, and then we'll get the better entries also on alts, which we're gonna look into in just a bit. But pretty much this is the picture. It seems like we're losing a bit of the momentum. We crossed above the 100-day moving average, and now we're just consolidating around this confluence area around the 200-day moving average, and obviously the 65k area. So very, very crucial, and that's why we see this kind of weak price action on both sides, wicking down and wicking up. So let's see. Today is a little bit more red. This is like probably that in the morning we retested this level again. We grabbed some liquidity here, so maybe this will be the leg that gets us down. And if we get down, I want to see aggressive buying in this area, whatever it is. I'll probably be bidding Bitcoin and other stuff here heavily, but I want to see a sharp pullback, and then maybe potentially a quick recovery. I don't want us to spend too much time here, but it will be, I think, ideal entry if we get it, for continuation to the bullish side. And even if this setup fails, again, it will present better entry. Like again, if we get below this level, you're risking like 7-10%, whatever, to make like 18% just on Bitcoin, and potentially maybe we go even higher. But I think it will be a decent setup. And I've talked about this, but I just want to mention it quickly. I'm of the opinion that maybe the cycle theory is over, and that's why I'm talking about certain levels. I'm not talking about 80k, 100k. Everybody's like, oh, 200k Bitcoin. You see, everybody is telling you this, but you're fading it. Blah blah blah. Why are you not buying Anon? All this shit is it's pointless. I'm just trying to give you plans for trades that are executable and that potentially can make you money and also can protect you on the downside. If we get to 72k, great. That is perfect. However, around 72k, I'll be looking for signs of weakness or strength to decide if I want to be holding for higher targets. It will depend. We'll just evaluate at that level if we get there. And I'm not just blindly holding through 72 just because I believe we're going to get to 100k. And that's how I kind of position myself and follow this philosophy. Ethereum has been looking harder to chart, I would say, because on the weekly you can see it just looks weaker right now. It's been showing some life again. It's been kind of catching up. We bounced hard from this level, but Ethereum right now it's in this weird place where it should start outperforming Bitcoin at some point, but it just hasn't. And on the weekly it just looks as a bearish structure. We're far away from this level here around 283k, I would say, where we could potentially see the reversal of the trend like I discussed on Bitcoin. But for now it's just looking quite bearish. ETH BTC, pretty much same thing. It's been just brutal. There might be some support through this area, but again, nothing compelling for a trade for me on Ethereum for now. We'll see how this goes. I'm monitoring closely, but for now ETH is just underperforming even compared to Sol. Like if you look at Sol, first of all, it hasn't changed structure, so it's just keeping this low here, and it's been on a run for the past 4 weeks. So the Sol ecosystem is again showing quite a bit of strength. There is some resistance here until we get more bullish signs on Solana. So you can see both moving averages quite closely to each other, and you can see that around this area, around the moving averages, and what is this, around 160, it's been a lot of price action and a lot of resistance. So once we break it, I'll be a little bit more confident. I'm maybe willing to buy a retrace back to 140 on Solana, but it's just looking weaker compared to Ethereum. However, there are a lot of other different plays. They're starting to kind of show a lot of strength, which I'm not sure if it's good, honestly, because what it's telling me is that, Bitcoin is probably going to go into a bull market. So let me buy just the little shit coins that I like buying and directly leverage up. So in general, this might not be a good sign, but on the other hand, if we see retraces and setups that can play out with good risk to reward, I think yes, in such stage where we expect Bitcoin to start ripping, alts will start overperforming at some point. If they don't, then the complete narrative again will be changed, although I think it's already changed. That altcoins start outperforming in a bull market and blah blah after Bitcoin breaks all-time highs, and there have been cases like this, and we could catch some of those, but I think you know what I mean if you've been around for the past year or so. When it comes to Sol, there are a few Sol tokens, ecosystem tokens, that are quite interesting to me. Jupiter is one. It's been just holding this level around 70 cents, and now we're back at this resistance. On the weekly, this is what interests me. So here's what I'm looking for. Pretty much similar to Bitcoin, this is at resistance on the weekly, around 80-90 cents. And it's been on a rip for a few weeks already. So any retrace here, I think, will be a good entry with very good risk to reward. You might argue there were already a few entries here, and I didn't buy into it because, again, we're in this place where I would like to see a little bit more confirmation that we're back on, because we could just easily go through a bear market from here. This could be the top for the market. But any price action here that gives me a good entry somewhere in this area, or potentially maybe even higher, maybe we break out. This chart is good because it could give you several entry opportunities. Maybe we get the retrace here, or maybe I would say it wouldn't be late to buy if we're getting into a bull market. If we get some, if we get some action here and then we get a breakout. So there are a few ways to play this chart specifically. On Jupiter, I think it's one of the best assets on the Solana ecosystem, together with Jito, but I'm starting to like Jupiter a bit more, although it's higher valuation. The charts pretty much look identical with Jito. Let me show you. But I want to be having some exposure to the ecosystem, and this includes some of the meme coins. Popcat has been looking quite strong here. I don't trust it. I just don't trust it because, again, just look at this. The moment it breaks out, it fakes out. So if it retraces somewhere in here, maybe it will be good. But again, it hasn't really had parabolic moves. This is the good sign. Width is one that it's also starting to look decent. Kind of starting to break above this accumulation on the weekly, and you can see the shift in the trend here if we close the weekly like this. But again, a retrace here would be nice, and maybe potentially another leg to the upside, although this is one of the older memes. I haven't looked at Bonk. Let me see what's happening there. Yeah, this does look a little bit more bearish, but again, on the weekly, yeah, it just looks bearish. It found its temporary bottom, at least somewhere around here. But I just like the other charts better in this case. You might argue that we're already breaking on the daily, so we got this little bit of consolidation, and these are decent entries here. I wouldn't say it's terrible. It's like 20% to make potentially multiples. But these are a few tokens I'm watching. There are very many little cat tokens like Meow. I just have some drawings of what I'm willing to buy, but pretty much a retrace, simply put, because this one is already showing a lot more strength than the others. And again, it hasn't really had a cycle. You can see it's just consolidating here. So this one on a retrace, I would probably take a bit. Michi is another one. Again, a lot of strength, potentially a retrace here. Again, a chart that's been consolidating and hasn't really had a run. Mumu is another one that's already closed quite aggressively above. This one trades very volatile. Like the moment it breaks out with conviction, it's just does this and then full retrace. So yeah, if it gives us an entry here, because there's a case to be made for this to be the lower high. So yeah, I'm just waiting for a retrace potentially to give us a better entry. But you can see that there's been a lot of tokens here that are looking interesting. On the other side, I'm still looking at Pendo. I didn't buy into this. There are a few entries here on the retrace. On the breakout here around 350. But again, the weekly is shifting structure, so potentially there will be a retrace, and I might get into it at the same prices for the breakout that I missed. But even if I don't, this is an important token for the ETH ecosystem, and ETH is not doing that well. Pendo is kind of outperforming even Bitcoin, so against even Bitcoin this is doing very well. But I would like to be a little bit more patient here and potentially wait for a retrace, and we'll see. There are a lot of others that I'm looking into. ZK, another one, same setup pretty much. If you jump to the weekly, again, we had the move 4 weeks in a row green. Potentially we'll get a close above this level, and then a retrace here will be sweet. ZK is again one of those that it's a bit tricky because it's a layer 2, but if we get into a bull market, these could probably catch a bit because it hasn't really collapsed that much. Compare this to, let's say, Mode, which is a layer 2 as well, and you will very easily see the differences in the chart. This has been very bad. Of course, this is not that popular L2, but still, you can tell that ZK is one of the favorite ones. Layer 0 is another one that I'm watching very closely. Again, very similar. It looks even more bullish than ZK. So this one again on a retrace, but even here on the weekly, if we start closing above this level, I think it could be good. This is I think this could do very well in a bull market, honestly. There are many reasons for this. Just the product is nice, failed airdrop in some sense, but the VCs are still behind it, and there's still, in my opinion, a lot of potential for this to go. Even chart wise, it's just looking fairly good. I'm looking also into track. I'll probably add some if we start closing above 150. They've been hinting that they are building something special. Let's see if they deliver. I still have a back, and as a risk to reward play, it's not the greatest here, but maybe if you want to be more certain, like wait for a break above $2. But I'm willing, since I have some already, I'm willing to buy some more here. Just wait out, see, because it's a very clean range here that it's starting to form, and playing it as kind of mechanical here at the range extremes. So very interesting. Aave is one that's been holding very strong price action. I haven't touched it because I kind of don't like older tokens, honestly, besides like Solana and Ethereum. But this one's been quite powerful. AI tokens have been going crazy. Tau leading the charge again, and you'll see it's just gone parabolic. I hope it finds like a top here and maybe gives us a retrace. But honestly, even if not Tau, there are a lot of other AI tokens I'm interested. There are looking also for a pullback. Even like smaller tokens like Palm. I've been watching this for God knows how much. I traded. It doesn't have the price action, but I traded pretty much from 0 to this level here. Made a few X's. Then I sold it with the migration, and then it made another like I don't know 10x from here. Yeah, painful to watch, but I just forgot about this honestly once I sold it, and now it's starting to form one of my favorite accumulation patterns. So first it had an accumulation range low, had a push, had a parabolic rip, and now it's forming a second accumulation, and it's close to breaking out of it, higher than the previous one. So this definitely one of interest. I'm watching closely. If we get a close here and maybe a retrace, I'm willing to buy. I'm also willing to buy a breakout here just because it's so cheap, and this could be one of a very low cap, very good risk to reward AI tokens. Another one similar is Quill. It's been showing a lot of strength, but again, very nice accumulation here, very clean structure. Any pullback here for me could be a buy. This is again relatively cheap, and you can see it's just very, I like such kind of charts very well, very much. This is another neuro AI. I'm watching it very closely. It kind of started shifting structure already, so you can see this console. Even like if you just zoom out, look at this: higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and now we're again shifting back into bullish price action. And I didn't buy this bottom here. I was looking at it, but the risks were there with Bitcoin, so I'm waiting for strength and a potential retrace. Maybe we'll get a retrace somewhere in the 350 area here to retest this major area. This is my dream scenario. So if you get back to this area or maybe this area up here, I will be buying some. What else? Yeah, some gaming I also want to add to my portfolio. Prime is a good example again of having the strength, closing above, and now just waiting patiently to see if we get a retrace or it would just go parabolic. I don't like that this is mostly trading on Coinbase, but this could also actually be quite good. So just take this as you wish. Some of you don't mind trading on Coinbase. So another one of those is Carrot. I've been watching this since launch, but never really traded it. Now it seems like it had a very aggressive push through the bottom. So if I see some kind of consolidation here, because it just still looks bearish structure. Like if you just, we can see it easier like this. You can see this, like it's still bearish structure with a first sign of strength. So if it holds up here, maybe I'll be willing to put some money, because this is also really cheap Keep in mind, this is like, oops, this is at below $100 million market cap right now. So I think could be a very good gaming play. There were a few more. BNX is a token a friend shared with me. This is a setup I'm looking into right now because this seems like a range to me, especially on the daily. You can see it clearer. We're testing the lows of the range. This is the deviation we had from the range, and we reclaimed it. And now here, it's like if it holds up here, it could be a very nice risk to reward setup. And on the 4 hour, I'm just watching to see what we're gonna do in this area right here. Maybe if we show some strength, I'll enter on this. But it's one of my favorite setups right now, even as Bitcoin is kind of in the potentially a correction zone. So I have, as you can see, a lot of setups, and based on what happens in the scenarios we see. So for example, if we see Bitcoin ripping from here, this could be a better setup. However, if we see a correction, maybe something like the ones I mentioned before will be better entries. And there are a lot more of these, like just look whatever, like POW, another AI token. Again, great push back into some resistance on the weekly. And if we start getting some closes here, and if we get back to retest this 20-cent level, again, could be a great entry. I'm looking to Maple. This is a real world asset play. Just again, one of those charts that I really love on a breakout or a retrace. TIA is one that I do have a back. It's down bad, but it's starting to, just on the weekly, I want to show you this chart. Look at this. Just up, down, and now potentially sideways. So if we get this sideways and then breakout, TIA was a favorite of the market. So maybe I'll just add some and potentially, ride it for a bit. Yeah, there are a bunch of other tokens, but you can go through them if you would like. Just stay on the markets, stay on top of the markets right now, because Akram also, again, similar play, breakout, hoping for retest. But it's just people are ready to pour money into the market. I don't know if it will happen, but I think this is the moment in time where we could see some nice moves and some nice entries if we are to have a bull market. When it comes to ordinals, there's been also pretty much exactly the same patterns there. Like you could see the strength and the hope returning to the market. This is Node Monks. They had a major event with the Roktoshi thing. We've discussed this, but you can see that we consolidated sideways, and for a first time, there's a push above this consolidation. As you can see, we had some consolidation here, but we broke down lower. We had some consolidation in this area, but very choppy, broke down lower. And even before that, you can see what happened when we had consolidation. We started breaking above it. So I am honestly looking for an entry. I missed one while I was on holiday. I hesitated. I didn't want to trade that much on holiday because I don't have my setup and everything. But any retrace, I think, on Node Monks or some of the key collections we're going to look, could be good entries for a potential 5x. This is what I'm looking at here, because we are at 0.2 Bitcoin, all-time highs pretty much almost 1 Bitcoin, but it's like almost 4 to 5x here. This is the kind of setup that I'm looking into. And if you want to see why I'm thinking that this could be possible, just look at Bitcoin Frogs. This is actually the only pristine chart with almost full history on this chart that you could get and kind of understand the rhythm of this market. Again, if we are to have another push, let me just find this tool. So before this, it went pretty much from zero. It had something like this, had a push, aggressive push to pretty much 0.2. Then it had a sell-off, and we came into this consolidation zone. So this could be like the full chart of Bitcoin Frogs. And you can see we made another push after we consolidated for quite a bit here. We started making the first initial pushes, and then we had a parabolic rip. And now, again, very similar setup that I really like. Consolidation, parabolic rip, consolidation, potentially a little bit higher. You could argue this whole thing is consolidation here, but a little bit higher than this. So maybe this is the start again for ordinals in general, because if ordinals rip, like these will be the collections to own. I do own still a bit of frogs, but I'm not happy that I didn't sell all of them at the top, because I have pretty much sold 3 or 4, I don't remember, at the literal top, one of the highest sales that I had here. And I should have, you know, sold everything and not dream about one Bitcoin, but hey, hindsight. So this could happen again, the same thing. We could see another rip, although Bitcoin frogs to make a new all-time high will require, even from here, quite a bit more. So this is a 8 to 10x here. Another one is Puppets. Puppets moves pretty much exactly the same with Node Monks. It's just a little bit cheaper. So I wouldn't even mind buying Puppets. They have been the leaders in volume forever in the space. So again, very similar chart. Now we're having a correction, which is great. I want to see this. And if we get a little bit lower, I'm still considering, you know, buying either Puppets or Monks. We'll see. I will let you know, obviously, guys. But these are like the charts that I'm looking at. Otherwise, like everything else is kind of on the same move, you know. OMB, exactly the same pattern. We have Quantum Cats. They are not older, so there's no like parabolic rip. We hope for a parabolic rip because I own some. But again, this is still consolidating, but it's a different price range. So this is 0.9, 0.3 almost right now. So again, very clean accumulation. Let's hope it plays out to the bullish side. Bitmaps are starting to wake up. I honestly don't like the play of bitmaps that much anymore, just because it takes so much time to get in and get out. It's just so annoying to have to buy like 10,000 pieces of these to get appropriate size, and then you have to sell it. It's just, yeah. But you can see the price action here. I'm more interested in TAP. I mentioned I bought some. But yeah, you can see it's just hanging around. It lays on the track side, the track team, if they're gonna do something. But again, accumulation, first sign of strength, retest. That's why I bought it. Like one of my favorite and high probability setups. So accumulation, made a new high, retested the pretty much this level of now turned support, and now we're ripping. Ripping is a very strong word since we've been down like 95%, but you know what I mean. That's why I wanted to add a bit more, because if this rips, it's so cheap right now, even still, that if this rips, you could make life-changing gains, in my opinion. It's super high risk, but these are the types of plays that I love, like where you put a bit of money and you make a shit ton of money potentially. Yeah, that's everything for this update, guys. As always, if you have any questions, you know how to find me.